In a magnificent palace deep in the elixir master tower. Two magnificent figures with astonishing auras exuding from their bodies were sitting at the top of the hall, while below, Elder Waterfield stood respectfully. Waterfield, you are so anxious to use the magic talisman to send a message and call us out from the retreat. What is going on? The two figures looked at Waterfield below and made a rumbling sound in their mouths. Master Gates, Master Comoros, the Jason you asked me to pay attention to, today immediately, Elder Waterfield broke Jason into the Medicine God Tower, and what happened was revealed in detail. Speak up. What? So Jason broke through the 27th floor of the Medicine God Tower? Where is he now? After listening to Waterfield's story, the two deputy tower masters made shocked sounds. Reporting to you two adults, Jason is still in the Medicine God Tower. Waterfield said respectfully. Okay, let's go there now. Above the main hall, two figures looked at each other, then stepped out in an instant, and the next moment, they had disappeared into the main hall. A holy place for spiritual cultivation, deep in the spiritual medicine master's tower. What are you talking about? Elder Chittick was sitting in the hall of the mansion. At this moment, he suddenly stood up and looked down at the two guardians who came to report. Elder Chittick, Jason, he has already passed through the 27th floor of the Medicine God Tower before. However, Elder Yalu Dij said that there was something wrong with the Medicine God Tower, so we, the protectors and core disciples, were all kicked out. The two guardians below said respectfully. Breaked through the 27th floor? Is there something wrong with the Medicine God Tower? Elder Chittick had an uncertain expression on his face. You guys, please step back. Yes. The two illegals left respectfully. The Medicine God Tower is one of the most mysterious places in our spiritual medicine master tower. For thousands of years, there has never been a problem. How could something happen so coincidentally this time? 27th floor, how did this Jason do it? Such talent. After the two guardians retreated, Elder Chittick's eyes flashed with light and his body trembled involuntarily, with a trace of trembling. Palace Master, I am absolutely telling the truth. The number displayed on the Medicine God Tower is indeed that Jason has broken through the 27th floor. However, Elder Brother Eurydic later said that there was something wrong with the Medicine God Tower, so he accepted we didn't see what happened when they came down. Only Elder Waterfield and a few palace masters who were present in person stayed. Is there something wrong with the Medicine God Tower? You guys should step back and I'll go see for myself. The tall figure stood up from the throne above the main hall, stepped out, and disappeared into the main hall. Then Jason actually broke through the 27th floor. What happened in the Medicine God Tower? With the departure of a large number of core disciples and protectors, what happened when Jason broke into the Medicine God Tower this time? Everything spread instantly to almost everyone in the upper echelons of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. The spread speed of such a miraculous thing is very amazing. Everyone who went out couldn't help but tell others. Therefore, almost in a short period of time, Jason did it in the Medicine God Tower. The news has spread like a whirlwind, and almost all the core disciples of the Elixir Master Tower, including the ordinary disciples in the Elixir City, are also fully aware of it. What they didn't know was that Jason, the protagonist of this miracle, was still in the Medicine God Tower at this moment. In the space on the 28th floor of the Medicine God Tower. Boom! In front of Jason, the elixir factors flying all over the sky were flying crazily. A series of terrifying spiritual shocks were aimed at Jason's location and rumbling towards him. The elixir factors, containing powerful energy, enveloped Jason in it, constantly crushing. These elixir factors alone formed a world that completely isolated the entire space, forming a world dominated by elixir factors. If the 3 floors representing the 7th level elixir master are like a rushing river, and the 3 floors representing the 8th level elixir emperor are like a surging river, then these 28 floors represent the 9th level low-level elixir master. In the Medicine God Tower, the impact of the spirit and elixir factors was like a tsunami in the sea. The power that destroyed everything instantly swallowed Jason whole. In just a moment, the combination of spiritual consciousness flow, spiritual medicine, and Avogadro's law, which had previously been able to survive on the 27th floor, was completely defeated. Faced with the torrent of spiritual medicine elements, because of this, Jason maximized the 2 elixir medicine methods, but to no avail. A large amount of sweat oozed from his forehead instantly, and he was already on the verge of collapse. There is really a huge difference between the 8th level high-level elixir Emperor Master and the 9th level low-level elixir Saint Master. The gap between the two can be said to be the difference between heaven and earth. This is also the reason why elder brother Yalu, they felt that Jason would soon be defeated from the 28th floor. If nothing else, the rarity of the two could be explained. On the Stern continent, although the 8th level high-level elixir Emperor Masters are rare, they exist in almost every era, and there are more than one. However, only one 9th level elixir master will appear for thousands of years. This shows its difficulty. This Jason is finally going to fail. On the steps of the Medicine God Tower, elder brother Molu and others looked at the swaying Jason in the Medicine God Tower. Instead of feeling regretful, they felt as if they were relieved. Take a big breath. However, before the expressions on their faces could completely relax, the bodies of Elder Arudigo and the others began to shake as if they were being electrocuted, their eyes widened as if they had seen a ghost, and their expressions became dull again. On the 28th floor of the Medicine God Tower, when Jason could no longer hold on relying solely on spiritual knowledge and Avogadro's law, Jason finally released his pinnacle technique, spiritual medicine. Completely liberate it. Boom. At this moment, Jason, who was swaying and almost destroyed in the torrent of elixir factors, suddenly disappeared. His figure was reaching the extreme, and in the entire 28th floor of the Medicine God Tower, a wave of in an instant, hundreds of Jasons appeared and prepared at the same time. The terrifying elixir factor was completely violent and boiling, like a flow of space particles, almost destroying all existence. With such a powerful spiritual bombardment, any spiritual master below the 9th level Holy Spirit Master could not persist, even if it was 8 levels. The same goes for the Emperor Spiritual Master, who is at the peak of the level. He will turn into jade powder in an instant. However, Jason, whose physical strength has reached the lower level of the 9th level, has persisted in the torrent. At this moment, Jason seemed to have transformed into a god in this world, completely controlling this world. With the full use of Jason's technique, Ling Ling Pharmacy, the preparation that was about to collapse quickly returned to stability. Jason's expression was solemn, sensing every step of the reaction process, took action with all his strength, and fell into the preparation again. For a time, a large number of elixir factors quickly merged under Jason's control. The understanding of the law that represented the 9th level low-level elixir Saint Master continued to wash through Jason's body, and was deeply engraved on Jason's body. In Jason's mind, it has become Jason's greatest wealth. In his previous life, Jason was a 9th level elixir master. He had a large amount of materials and had prepared 9th level holy elixirs. In this life, Jason, although his attainments in elixirs had returned to the low-level realm of the 9th level, but due to the lack of materials, he has never been able to prepare a bottle of 9th level holy elixir as he pleased. Now in this Medicine God Tower, although it is virtual, Jason finally got such a chance. At this moment, Jason was completely integrated into the preparation. He had forgotten everything around him and only knew how to use all his abilities freely. What Jason didn't know was that when he was fully immersed in it, his spiritual awareness, spiritual power, and physical strength were all increasing at an extremely fast speed. A large number of chaotic and violent elixir factors in front of him were constantly being fused together, slowly forming a combination of various attributes, and then under Jason's control, they were fused again, 160% to 80%, 80% to 40%, and 40% to 20%. And finally, Jason tried his best to fuse the two half-finished elixir factors together. Dulong. Irving's pressure dispersed everything. In the Medicine God Tower, Jason gasped and stopped. Floor 28. Pass. In front of the space steps of Medicine God Tower. In their minds, elder brother Arudi and others sensed Jason's sudden power when he was about to fail. He transformed into thousands of people and used a magical preparation method that they could not understand at all to control the elixir factors that were about to disperse again, and then the preparation was completely completed. Everyone was stunned. The 28th floor of the Medicine God Tower, the 28th floor that represents the realm of the 9th level low-level elixir Saint Master, was actually broken through by Jason, elder brother Yarudi, and the others. They looked at each other, their minds going blank for a moment. There must be something wrong with the Medicine God Tower. There really is something wrong with the Medicine God Tower. There is definitely something wrong with the Medicine God Tower, elder brother Yaludi and the others murmured. At this moment, all they could think about was got this idea. Whoops. At this moment, the teleportation array on the square in the Medicine God Tower space suddenly lit up, and then 3 figures suddenly appeared on the square. As soon as these 3 figures appeared, an astonishing coercion spread across the entire square. The 3 of them stepped forward at the same time. The next moment, the figures appeared in front of Elder Arudi and the others. These 3, the people were the 2 deputy tower owners of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower and Elder Waterfield, who went to report. As soon as Elder Waterfield appeared, his eyes first swept over the steps. In his imagination, quite some time had passed since he went to inform the 2 deputy tower masters. Jason should have left the Medicine God Tower long ago. It came out. However, what made him suspicious was that he did not see Jason around. What was even more strange was that after seeing the 2 deputy tower masters appear, Yaludi and the others did not show any concern. Reaction. Brother Yaludi, everyone, the 2 deputy tower masters are here. Where is Jason? On the steps, Waterfield frowned and asked. There was a trace of resentment in Waterfield's heart. He hurriedly invited the 2 deputy tower owners over, but you let Jason go. What's going on? Waterfield's voice rumbled in the space of the Medicine God Tower, and only then did Elder Arudigo and others wake up from the shock. Ah? Everyone was shocked, and there was still a trace of trembling in their eyes. They turned and looked at the 2 majestic figures beside Waterfield. I've met the 2 deputy tower masters. Everyone hurriedly saluted and said, even Elder Yaludij was no exception. Although he is a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit Master, in terms of strength, he is inferior to the 2 deputy tower masters. It's not that big. In terms of spiritual medicine level, as an 8th level senior spiritual medicine emperor, he is the same as the 2 deputy tower masters. But in terms of identity and status, Brother Yalu is just an elder after all. You don't have to be polite. Gates and Komaro said calmly, but their words carried an inexplicable power that impacted everyone's hearts, bringing endless majesty. Brother Yaludi, Kevlin, what about Jason? I'm going to inform the 2 deputy tower masters. Why did you let him go without waiting for the 2 adults to arrive? Elder Titfield said with a tone on the side. He said with a hint of complaint. The 2 training tower masters also cast their eyes on Brother Arudi and the others. Feeling the looks in the eyes of Titfield, Gates, and Comoros, the 2 deputy tower masters, everyone present had a wry smile on their faces. Master Gates, Master Comoros, we have not let Jason go. He is still in the Medicine God Tower. Elder Yarudigo said. Still in the Medicine God Tower, has he started to break in for the 2nd time? Waterfield wondered. Obviously, in his imagination, Jason is still in the Medicine God Tower, so he must have broken through after the failure. It was the 2nd time and Gates and Komaro had doubts on their faces. Lord Gates, Lord Comoros, Waterfield, you 3 should see for yourselves. Elder Arudigo smiled bitterly, and did not answer Waterfield's words, but waved his hand, and suddenly, in the Medicine God Tower, the scene suddenly appeared in the minds of the 3 people. Well, this Jason is still breaking through in the medicine god tower, huh? Why is the impact of this elixir factor so terrifying? What, this Waterfield whispered at first, but the next moment, when he felt the terrifying elixir factor surrounding Jason, his originally calm expression suddenly froze, and his eyes widened, revealing the light of incomparable shock. Not only him, but Gates and Comero, the two deputy tower owners of the elixir tower, were completely stunned, with expressions as if they had seen a ghost. The two of them were shaking, with expressions of disbelief on their faces. 29th floor, this Jason is actually on the 29th floor, how could it be possible? After seeing the level of Jason's floor, both Gates and Comero's trembled involuntarily. The two looked at each other, with unspeakable horror in their eyes. Brother Yaludi, what's wrong with this medicine god tower? Elder Titfield shouted directly. Elder Yaludij smiled bitterly and then shook his head, no problem. At first, we also suspected that there was something wrong with the medicine god tower, but from now on, judging from the soul impact and elixir impact on the 29th floor where Jason is, it doesn't look like there is a problem. Everything is normal. An impact of this intensity can't be tolerated even by a 9th level intermediate Holy Spirit master like me. Even if the high-level elixir master went in, he probably wouldn't be able to hold on for a moment, and he didn't know how Jason could hold on. No problem. Jason relied on his own strength to persevere in the 29th floor. What kind of preparation method is this? The preparation method he used is really weird, so strange. Besides, the two deputy tower masters, Gates and Comero, with horrified eyes, after carefully observing the impact strength of the elixir in Jason's space, they spoke affirmatively, with a deep tone in their tone. Incredibly deep. Look, Jason seems like he can't hold on any longer. Suddenly, someone in the medicine god tower space made an excited voice. For a moment, everyone present was silent and turned their attention to the scene in their minds that Jason prepared in the 29th-story medicine god tower. The 29th floor of the medicine god tower. Jason's forehead was covered with sweat and he was breathing heavily, completely immersed in the preparation. The spiritual consciousness flow medicine, Avogadro's law, and the technical flow medicine that he controlled have been fully used at this moment. The terrifying spiritual power is constantly spitting out from his body. As he prepares the preparation, the impact he receives, the oppression was getting bigger and bigger, and the power that could sweep everything was constantly washing over his body, making him crumbling in the space of the medicine god tower. Although he had 3 different preparation methods, the 29th level, which represented the 9th level intermediate elixir master, was too terrifying, making Jason feel extremely strenuous. You must know that these 29 levels represent the realm of the 9th level intermediate elixir master, and what about Jason? In terms of spiritual knowledge flow and spiritual medicine, he is only an 8th level low-level elixir emperor master. In terms of Avogadro's law, he has just made a breakthrough, and he is only equivalent to an 8th level high-level elixir emperor master. That is, in terms of technical spirit medicine, his physical strength has reached the lower level of the 9th level, which is equivalent to that of a low-level 9th level elixir master. Although the difference between the 9th level low-level elixir saint master and the 9th level intermediate elixir saint master is only 1 level, there is a huge difference in strength. Any level of gap is extremely difficult. Jason, who completely combines the technology flow, data flow, and spiritual consciousness flow, is only close to the 9th level intermediate elixir saint master at most, and cannot truly reach the 9th level intermediate elixir saint master, unless Jason will all 3 have been raised to the level of a 9th level low-level elixir master, and there may still be a glimmer of possibility. In the terrifying torrent of elixirs, Jason's body struggled to hold on. After persisting for a long time, he could no longer resist. In an instant, he was swallowed up by the endless torrent of elixirs. Sure enough, if my body strength has not reached the 9th level intermediate level, I cannot withstand the impact of the elixir from the 29th level, which represents the 9th level intermediate elixir saint master. Unfortunately, my spiritual consciousness flow and data flow are still too weak. If I am weak, my strength is only an 8th level low-level Emperor spiritual master. Otherwise, if my strength reaches the 8th level peak, maybe there is still a chance. This thought passed through Jason's mind. Bang! Immediately, his body was instantly smashed into powder in the space of the Medicine God Tower. The entire space of the Medicine God Tower instantly became dark, and he was kicked out of the 29th floor. Jason loses. Jason's first attempt at the Medicine God Tower was officially over, and he finally failed on the 29th floor, which represented the 9th level intermediate elixir master. In front of the steps of the Medicine God Tower space, when the images in the minds of Gates, Komaro, and others disappeared instantly, and when they saw Jason finally failed on the 29th floor, their whole bodies were involuntarily shocked. The nervous and silent crowd finally took a long breath. This Jason finally failed. He will also fail. Elder Titfield and others exhaled, with endless shock in their hearts. Then, they all looked at the Medicine God Tower. The gate is located. Boom! In everyone's eyes, the originally dark and closed door of the Medicine God Tower suddenly opened with a huge roar, and a blurry figure slowly walked out of the dark Medicine God Tower. Does it represent the 29th level of the 9th level intermediate elixir Saint Master? This Medicine God Tower is indeed magical. It can even test my skills in spiritual medicine. But now there is no need to try this medicine anymore. God Tower. Although the Medicine God Tower can give me a lot of insights, it can only be in terms of spiritual consciousness flow. And my spiritual consciousness flow is limited by my spiritual master level. Even if I gain more insights, my strength will not improve. It's useless to come up. As Jason walked out of the Medicine God Tower, he frowned and thought about the previous tower breakthrough. I just broke through the 29 floors of the Medicine God Tower, and I gained a lot of insights in spiritual medicine. My physical strength has also increased a lot, and my spiritual consciousness and spiritual power have also transformed. Now, I feel that I am about to break through to the 8th level intermediate Emperor spiritual master. I will go back and sort out my experience, and then concentrate on training to become what I am today. Absorb all the gains and strive to break through to the 8th level intermediate Emperor spiritual master before the genius trials of major forces in the mainland. Jason made a plan for himself in his mind for the next 2 months. But the moment Jason just walked out of the Medicine God Tower, he was stunned for a moment. In the square in front of the Medicine God Tower, there was no Lan Yu Gusen and others waiting there as Jason imagined. It was empty. At the same time, Jason also felt several powerful eyes staring firmly at him. Jason turned his head. Not far away, on the steps in front of the Medicine God Tower, dozens of elders and palace masters with powerful spiritual power fluctuations on their bodies looked at him with strange eyes, their eyes full of shock. Jason pays homage to the elders, palace master. Seeing this group of people, Jason was stunned for a moment. Then, knowing the reason, he stepped forward, saluted and said, "Wow." Elder Waterfield and others, who had previously accepted Jason's salute calmly, were all shocked, and their bodies even moved away involuntarily. In the past, in their eyes, Jason was just a core disciple, no matter how strong he was. In terms of identity and status, there was still a difference between him and the elders and hall masters like them. But now that Jason has broken through the medicine after the tower, they could no longer bear it. The Medicine God Tower shows a spiritual medicine master's attainments in medicine and the heavenly thief. Over the thousands of years since the Medicine God Tower was built, there has never been a mistake. In other words, if a spiritual medicine master breaks into the Medicine God Tower, how many levels, even if he is not yet at such a high level of elixir science at the moment, he will definitely reach it in the near future. This is also the reason why Elder Waterfield and the others were so shocked after seeing the levels of the Medicine God Tower that Jason broke into. Although the current Jason is only an 8th level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master, in the eyes of Titfield and others, Jason, who broke into the 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower, and a 9th level low-level Elixir Master, are already nothing different. What is the concept of a 9th-level elixir master? Thinking of this, Elder Waterfield and the others couldn't help but tremble. Facing a 9th-level low-level elixir master who was about to grow up, how could they dare to accept Jason's salute? However, Waterfield and others also have doubts in their hearts, that is, usually no matter how talented a spiritual master is in elixir medicine, he can only reach the upper level of his elixir master level, but he is an 8th-level low-level emperor spirit. Jason, who is a master of martial arts, has reached the 29th floor, which represents the 9th-level intermediate elixir master. They don't understand. What Waterfield and the others didn't know was that the reason why Jason was able to reach the 29th floor at this moment was precisely because of his attainments in elixir science, and he had already reached the level of a low-level 9th-level elixir master. Are you Jason? In front of the medicine god tower, the two deputy tower masters, Gates and Komaro, looked at Jason carefully, with a hint of shock in their eyes. Because they discovered that the spiritual attribute emitted by Jason in front of them was only at the lower level of the 8th level, but the strength of his spiritual power was far beyond that of an ordinary 8th-level emperor spiritual master, and even almost reached the level of a 9th-level Holy Spirit master. Let them not be surprised. Although they had heard Jason's name many times from Titfield, this was the first time they saw him in person. Who are you two? Jason turned his attention to Gates and Komaros. It was also the first time for Jason to see the two of them, and he could feel the powerful aura emanating from the two of them. The pressure is even stronger than that of Elder Yerudigo, who is a 9th-level intermediate Holy Spirit master. Jason, these two are the deputy tower masters of our elixir tower, Gates and Komaro. These two adults have something to do with you. Elder Kufulin immediately walked out of the crowd and explained to Jason. Jason has met the two deputy tower masters. I wonder what the two deputy tower masters are doing here. Jason saluted again and said. Gates and Komaro looked at each other and said, Jason, how did you break into the 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower? We won't ask you, but I hope that you can keep this secret. We will report your matter to the Tower Master. In the following days, you can practice well. If you need anything, just mention it to Elder Kevlin and the others. Thank you, two adults. Jason nodded. If there is nothing wrong with the two adults, I will go back first. At this moment, Jason couldn't wait to return to his mansion to absorb and digest the insights he gained this time in the Medicine God Tower. Go back. Gates and Komaro looked at each other, then nodded. That's right. Just 2 steps after Jason walked out, Gates said again, the 6 kinds of 8th-level materials you applied to Elder Titfield last time have been approved. Remember, there are, when you have time, go to the core hall to get it. Thank you, two adults. Jason said immediately, thinking that he would be able to prepare a bottle of 9th-level holy elixir for his father soon. Jason's heart was filled with excitement. Excited. Under the gaze of everyone, Jason came to the teleportation array of the Medicine God Tower and left the space of the Medicine God Tower. In the empty space of the Medicine God Tower, only the Deputy Tower Master, Titfield and other 4 elders, as well as the 10 Palace Masters, were left. Everyone, please don't spread the news about Jason breaking into the 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower. Gates and Komaro looked extremely serious. We need to report this matter to the Tower Master. Let the Tower Master make a decision, remember? Mr. Gates, Mr. Komaros, we understand. Waterfield and the others spoke respectfully. They had just received the news that they had a grudge against Jason. Elder Chittick, as well as the other 4 hall masters who came later, also nodded with solemn expressions. Well, in that case, please step back first. We need to report this matter to the Tower Master as soon as possible. Gates and Komaro hummed, then stepped directly and arrived at the teleportation array in an instant before he left the Medicine God Tower. Kevlin, you have brought a good disciple to our spiritual medicine master tower. On the 29th floor, I don't know what kind of preparation method Jason used to have such ability. 29th floor. On the 9th floor, that is a 9th level elixir master. Will there be another 9th level elixir master in our stern continent? Gates and Komaro left 6 times, and the entire medicine god, the tower space, became heated again, and everyone couldn't help but speak out with excitement. Okay, the 2 deputy tower masters said not to spread this matter, so we won't discuss it. At this moment, Elder Yaludaij said, everyone should do whatever they want. Yes. Everyone on the steps nodded attentively. They also knew the sensation of this incident. They knew that it was okay. If other forces outside the world learned of the news, then Jason might, it's going to be dangerous. After all, a 9th level elixir master is too important, enough to set off a storm in the entire continent. Even if the elixir master tower is one of the top 2 towers among the 9 major forces in the mainland, he dare not take it. This is a joke. Immediately, as Elder Yarudago finished speaking, a group of people present also left the medicine god tower space and returned to their own mansions and palaces. In the city of Tianzi, as soon as Jason returned to the core hall from the medicine god tower, he flew towards the god transformation island without any pause. After a moment, Jason landed on the god transformation island. Master, you are finally back. As soon as Jason's net was caught, a large group of people from Rongxing, who felt the movement, rushed out of the mansion, their faces full of excitement. Everyone. A smile broke out on Jason's face. Jason, what happened in the medicine god tower? Have you ever made it to the 27th floor? Elder brother Yarudi said there was something wrong with the medicine god tower. What went wrong? Seeing Jason, Cassius also asked curiously. For a moment, everyone present turned their attention to Jason. They couldn't wait to know what happened to Jason in the medicine god tower. Haha, it's actually nothing. As for how many floors I've reached, there are 27 floors. Jason said with a smile. I'm just saying, with master's strength, the 27th floor shown on the medicine god tower must be true. Rongxing immediately shouted, his expression full of excitement and excitement. The 27th level represents the realm of the 8th level senior elixir emperor master. For Rongxing, who is currently the 7th level intermediate elixir emperor master, it is almost a legendary existence. 27th floor, not only melting saint, but also Cassius was completely shocked. As an 8th level low-level elixir emperor, he was only wandering on the 25th floor and had not yet been able to break through. 26th floor. Suddenly, the entire transformation island was filled with excited shouts. Among the crowd, Lan Yu Gusen looked at Jason strangely, but said nothing. The carnival of the crowd only lasted for a short moment, and everyone who knew what was going on allowed Jason to go back. In the 5 elements spiritual power area deep in the God of Transformation Island, Jason came to the open space where he practiced, sat down cross-legged, and began to realize again and again the understanding of the laws and the knowledge of elixirs that he had gained in the process of breaking into the medicine god tower. Come. Ha ha, the rich spiritual power of the 5 elements circulated. Jason closed his eyes and practiced there, feeling. Little did he know that the news that he had broken through the medicine god tower had spread to the core of various forces in the mainland through various methods, through many disciples from the major forces in the mainland in the medicine god tower. In the center of Stern Continent, in a mysterious secret realm, there is a magnificent palace. This magnificent palace is thousands of feet tall and covers an incomparably huge area. The main hall exudes a black and primitive atmosphere, and when viewed from a distance, it gives people an endless sense of majesty. My lord, my lord. In the deepest part of the palace, in the vast hall, a black-robed figure with a terrifying aura on his body appeared in the hall in a flash, and at the same time, he knelt down facing the depths of the hall. Deep in the hall, there was pitch black, like a black hole, swallowing everything and emitting an astonishing aura of spiritual power. Elder Jude, are you in such a hurry? What's the matter? A voice full of coercion echoed in the hall, directly impacting the soul of the black-robed figure. The figure in black robe looked respectfully at the endless darkness in front of him. I just got the news that Jason, the core disciple of the Alchemist Tower, is the Northwest man who defeated Edmes in the last spiritual medicine ranking competition in the Alchemist Tower. Geniuses from all over the world broke into the Medicine God Tower in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower today. Jason, who is an 8th-level low-level Emperor Spiritualist, actually broke into the 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower in one breath. 29th layer. A terrifying wave of spiritual power suddenly spread out from the black hole deep in the hall, and the terrifying pressure instantly spread over the black-robed figure. The 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower represents the realm of the 9th-level Intermediate Elixir Master. In other words, Jason, who is the 8th-level low-level Imperial Spiritual Master, actually has the talent to advance to the 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Master. Yes, sir. The figure in black robe said respectfully and eagerly, "We learned this news through a special channel in the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. It is absolutely true. If Jason is not eradicated, he will grow into a 9th-level spirit. Medicine Saint Master, my lord, your great plan might be affected." Jason's 9th-level Elixir Medicine Master, the rumbling voice, was silent for a moment, and then sounded again. "It seems that the plan is about to be put forward. Fight hard, we must not let him grow to this point. Pass on my order, and adopt the final plan for this Continental Genius trial. Elder Jude, please go down and make arrangements." "Yes." The black-robed figure retreated respectfully. The magnificent hall regained its calmness once again. The Tower Master summons the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, City in the Sky, Riot Spirit Sea Transformation God Island Mansion, and an open space in the deepest part of it. Jason, who was sitting cross-legged and with his eyes closed, slowly opened his eyes with a smile on his face. This Medicine God Tower is indeed magical. Entering the Medicine God Tower is a great reward. After coming out of the Medicine God Tower, Jason, he has been practicing on the God Transformation Island and has been in seclusion for 3 days. During these 3 days, Jason spent all his energy on digesting the insights he gained in the Medicine God Tower. During the process of breaking through the Medicine God Tower, Jason started from the lowest level. Reaching the 29th floor, which represented the 9th-level Intermediate Elixir Master, Jason completely sorted out his elixir knowledge. In the past, Jason had reached the level of an 8th-level low-level Elixir Master in terms of spiritual consciousness flow, but the knowledge he acquired was messy. Now, after reorganizing it, Jason has a deeper understanding. Perception. The most rewarding thing for Jason is that it is beyond Jason's level and represents the spiritual consciousness flow understanding between the 8th-level Intermediate Elixir Emperor Master and the 9th-level Intermediate Elixir Saint Master. Jason's knowledge of spiritual consciousness flow elixirs, with a deeper understanding, although Jason's strength has not yet reached such a high level, it is only because of the restrictions of his spiritual master level. As long as he can improve his strength, Jason is confident that he will be able to achieve the goal of becoming a spiritual master. In terms of spiritual knowledge flow and spiritual medicine, he was instantly promoted to the 8th-level Intermediate Spiritual Medicine Emperor Master, and even to the 8th-level Advanced Spiritual Medicine Emperor Master. Not only in terms of spiritual consciousness flow medicine, data flow medicine, and the improvement of Avogadro's law, Jason also gained huge benefits. It's a pity that this time I broke into the Medicine God Tower. Although my physical strength, spiritual consciousness, and spiritual power have increased somewhat, I still haven't been able to break through to the 8th-level Intermediate Emperor Spiritual Master. In the open space, Jason slowly stood up, feeling the surging 8th-level low-level spiritual power in his body, and couldn't help but shake his head. Before entering the Medicine God Tower, Jason had cultivated the spiritual power in his body to the peak of the 8th low level. Later, when he was in the Medicine God Tower, although the spiritual power in Jason's body had increased slightly, it was still unable to break through to the 8th level Intermediate level. This is the only regret in Jason's heart. Once a spiritual master reaches the 8th level of Imperial Spiritual Master, every subsequent level of improvement will be extremely difficult. It cannot be achieved simply by cultivating spiritual power. It requires understanding of laws and regulations. Promotion requires certain opportunities. Let's go see what Claire and the others are doing. In the yard, Jason said with a smile, and then stepped out of the open space. In the hall of the Huashan Island mansion, Jason and everyone sat together again. In front of everyone is a cup of hot and fragrant tea, and the air is filled with a faint fragrance. Jason was sitting in the middle of the hall, and the others were looking at him with strange eyes, as if there was something wrong. Even Claire was the same, with extremely strange eyes. Jason looked at himself suspiciously and then at everyone. What's wrong with everyone? I don't have flowers on my face, right? However, everyone didn't answer and still looked at him with strange eyes. Jason, you are finally out of seclusion. I have been waiting for you for 2 days. If you don't come out of seclusion, I will wake you up. In the hall, Lan Yu Gusen had a smile on his face. Suddenly said out loud. You've been waiting for me for 2 days? What, Lan Yu Gusen, what's going on? Is the genius trial about to begin? I remember it should be nearly 2 months away, right? Jason asked doubtfully. There is indeed something, but it's not about the genius trial tournament. The old man wants to see you. Old man? Jason couldn't help but have doubts on his face, and then, as if he thought of something, his face suddenly changed. Lu looked solemn and looked at Lan Yu Gusen like a sharp blade. You mean Jason had only heard this title from Lan Yu Gusen once? Well, that's the old man, who is now the tower owner of the spiritual medicine master tower. Lan Yu Gusen nodded. On the second day after you returned to Huashan Island, Elder Waterfield came and said that the old man wanted to see you. I saw that you were practicing, so I didn't disturb you at that time. I was going to wait for you to finish your practice before taking you there. Unexpectedly, after waiting for a long time, you were still practicing. Elder Waterfield originally wanted to wake you up directly, but I stopped him and asked him to go back and report to the old man first. After you finish practicing, I will take you to see the old man. But I didn't expect that you would practice for 3 whole days. If you don't come out of seclusion, I will also take you to see him. You woke me up. The master of the spiritual pharmacist tower? After hearing Lan Yu Gusen's words, Jason murmured, and there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. Jason, you are so lucky. Even the master of the alchemist tower wants to meet you. He is the real person in charge of our alchemist tower. He is the top figure in Inyalu. I, Cassinus, have become the core disciple. After so many years, he has always been in the top 3 on the elixir list, but he has never been summoned by the tower master. It's really in the hall. Cassinus' eyes were full of envy, and he said, no. But he, Leonardo and others, all looked at Jason with fiery eyes. No wonder they behaved like that at the beginning. Who is the master of the alchemist tower? That is the real power of the alchemist tower. He is the most powerful man in the continent and looks down upon the great existence of the entire continent. Although his divine dragon has never seen its head and tail, and few people in the entire continent have seen his true face, it still cannot hide the light on him. It can be said that such a figure is the most dazzling existence in the entire continent today, although it is not as good as Jason's status on the mainland in his previous life was not far behind. Even among the core disciples of the entire Elixir Master Tower, Spreading Wings Renewal Group, only Lan Yu Gusen has seen his true appearance. As for the other core disciples, even Cassinus, who is second on the elixir list, although he has been in the Sky City for decades, he has never seen the true face of the tower owner. Since you are out of seclusion now, I will take you there. Lan Yu Gusen looked at Jason and said. Normally, next, when summoned by the master of the elixir medicine tower, even the 4 elders and even the 2 deputy tower masters did not dare to hesitate or stop at all. They had to arrive as soon as possible, and with Lan Yu Gusen's persuasion next, Jason went there after 3 days of realization, which was already considered an extremely neglectful act. Yes. Jason nodded impatiently. Regarding the mysterious Tower Master who was sitting in the Elixir Master Tower, Jason's heart was also full of expectations and curiosity. In that case, come with me. Lan Yugusan stood up directly and walked out of the dog hall with Jason. By the way, suddenly, Lan Yugusan stopped and took out several extremely exquisite high-priced jade boxes made of different materials from his body, and handed them to Jason. When Elder Waterfield came, he gave you the 6 kinds of 8 jade boxes you applied for last time. We have also brought the grade materials, please put them away. Jason took the jade box and put it directly into his space ring. If it were before, he would definitely look at it carefully, but now, he is a little impatient, but they didn't have the time to see it. Immediately, under the leadership of Lan Yugusan, the 2 people instantly turned into 2 streams of light, flying towards the sky like lightning. Under the leadership of Lan Yugusan, Jason and Lan Yugusan flew through the vast space of the Sky City. Their speed increased to the maximum, passing through patches of memeing void. Just like that, the 2 of them were flying through a vast white space. I don't know how long it took. Suddenly, the white mist in front of them suddenly dissipated. In the distant void, there was a majestic palace. Suddenly appeared in Jason's sight. Jason, this is where the old man lives. Lan Yugusan said. Master of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. Jason looked at the majestic atmosphere in front of him, which was boundless. Shocking palace, Jason also whispered in his heart. The door of the palace where the master of the Alchemist Tower lives has always been wide open, and a group of guards with an amazing aura on their bodies are guarding the front of the hall. These the guards are all majestic, with eyes like lightning, and they are mighty and handsome. Judging from the spiritual power flowing from their bodies, they are all 8th level Emperor spiritual masters. Jason and Lan Yugusan, in the door of the main hall fell. Lan Yugusan, you haven't been to the Spirit Medicine Hall for a long time. Are you here to see the Tower Master? Seeing Lan Yugusan, the leading guard immediately laughed, and his eyes fell on Jason again, his eyes full of indifference and vigilance. Thank you for your hard work. Lan Yugusan nodded, and walked towards the hall with Jason. Goodbye. From the front the 2 guards dropped their spears at the same time, blocking Jason behind Lan Yugusan, while looking at Jason indifferently. What? Seeing this scene, Lan Yugusan, who was walking in front, immediately turned around and frowned. Who is he? Lan Yugusan, you should know the rules of the Elixir Palace. Without the order of the Tower Master, or the 2 deputy Tower Masters, even the Palace Master cannot enter the Elixir Palace. Lan Yugusan they all knew his identity and often went in and out of the Spiritual Medicine Hall, so they naturally let him go. But Jason, a stranger, actually wanted to enter the Spiritual Medicine Hall, so he was naturally stopped by them. They, the guards, are actually very proud to be able to guard the gate of the Elixir Palace. After all, the 2 deputy Tower Masters and the number 1 person in the Elixir Palace are living in the Elixir Palace. The place where the tower owner lives. They are all rushing to come and see the door. Even if they are a doorman, they will not give any face to the Palace Masters who come to visit. Because they, the gatekeepers, represent the face of the Master of the Elixir Medicine Tower. Humph, he is Jason. He came here after being ordered by the Tower Master. Do you think I don't understand these rules of the Spiritual Medicine Hall? Lan Yugusan looked at the leading guard with a hint of displeasure on his face. Oh? Are you Jason? The guards looked at Jason in surprise. You go in. The leading guard, obviously having received the news, withdrew the spear that was blocking Jason, and at the same time smiled at Lan Yugusan, whose face was ashen-faced. Lan Yugusan, we are also executing the order, please also forgive me. Lan Yugusan snorted coldly, without saying anything, and led Jason directly into the hall. Inner Temple. Along the wide corridor, Lan Yugusan and Jason quickly walked to a magnificent square. Jason saw at a glance 2 old men in robes standing in the distance, standing quietly. In the square, Jason and Lan Yu Gusen were looking at Jason and Lan Yu Gusen coming from outside with smiles on their faces. These two people were Gates and Kamaro, the two deputy tower masters that Jason had met in the Medicine God Tower space. Apparently, they had learned about Jason's arrival from some channel. Lan Yu Gusen, Jason, you're here. Seeing the two of them, the man in the green robe suddenly laughed. I have met the two deputy tower masters. Lan Yu Gusen and Jason both saluted. The master of the tower has been waiting for you for a long time. I will take you there as soon as you arrive. Come with me. Gates said. Immediately, the two deputy tower masters, Gates and Kamaro, led from the front, while Lan Yu Gusen and Jason followed from behind. The four of them continued inward, passing through a large number of palaces and buildings, and then came to a quiet courtyard. Elixir Garden? Jason looked at the quiet courtyard in front of him. The door of the courtyard was closed. There was a plaque above the courtyard. On the plaque were the words Elixir Garden. It looked clean and ordinary. The tower owner's residence is ahead. You can go in alone. Gates and Kamaro took Jason to the entrance of the courtyard, but did not go any further, and Lan Yu Gusen also stopped. Jason nodded and gently pushed the door open. What he saw was an extremely ordinary yard. In the yard, there were some lush trees and many flowers of different colors. Jason stepped in without any hesitation. Boom! Just when Jason stepped into the courtyard, the door of the courtyard closed instantly. At the same time, the scene in front of Jason suddenly changed, as if he had stepped into the teleportation array and instantly arrived in another space. What appeared in front of him was a vast white void without any existence. Jason frowned slightly as he looked at it carefully. Boom! A huge roar suddenly sounded in Jason's ears, and immediately, a fire dragon appeared in the void. This fire dragon was dozens of feet long, and its whole body was made of fiery red crystals. A pair of lantern-sized, his eyes stared at Jason violently, roaring, aiming at Jason's location and engulfing him fiercely. The terrifying pressure came instantly, and the hot and terrifying flame spiritual power continued to impact. Jason suddenly felt like he had entered a big furnace, and dense beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. However, Jason didn't care. There was solemnity in his eyes. From the body of the fire dragon, Jason felt a sense of danger. The huge fire dragon, packed with terrifying spiritual power, arrived in front of Jason in an instant. The 5 elements are born and destroyed, and the world is reincarnated. Jason's eyes suddenly erupted with a ball of 5-color divine light, and he roared, aiming at the fire dragon and punching out. If it were in the outside world, Jason's punch would have caused the void to collapse and the world to become chaotic. However, in this void space, it only caused ripples in the void and hit the flame crystal hard. Dragon's head. Bang! A huge roar sounded in the void, and the two collided. Jason suddenly felt an unparalleled force pouring into his body instantly, and his whole person was instantly thrown dozens of meters away. The rich energy in his body, the 5 elements spiritual power shook, and my throat felt a hint of fishy sweetness. Roar! The flame dragon also retreated, and then looked at Jason again with its violent eyes. It roared and roared towards Jason again, even more powerful than before. However, this time, there was no trace of tremor on Jason's face, but his eyes were like lightning as he looked at the flame crystal dragon in surprise. The flame crystal dragon, carrying a terrifying pressure, came to Jason in an instant, and with a roar, it rushed towards Jason. Faced with the powerful impact of the flame crystal dragon, this time, Jason did not use the 5 elements of spiritual power in his body. Instead, he dispersed his 8th-level low-level spiritual consciousness to cover the flame crystal dragon, and then took action brazenly. 5 divine rainbows, containing special spiritual arrangements and techniques, were instantly released from Jason's hand, covering the flame crystal dragon. A surprising scene happened. The flame crystal dragon, which had been intact under Jason's full blow, instantly collapsed and was chopped into pieces under the cutting of the 5 divine rainbows. Roar. A painful roar came from the mouth of the flame crystal dragon. The flame crystal dragon exploded instantly and turned into a scorching flame that filled the sky and enveloped Jason. Spiritual flame transformation technique, give it to me. Jason roared, and he continuously released divine rainbows from his hands, sweeping the flames all over the sky. At the same time, Jason's 8th level low-level spiritual consciousness enveloped all the flames, as if preparing a magical elixir, using unique arrangements and methods to control these flames. Phantom splitting hand. Countless phantoms suddenly appeared in Jason's hand, instantly covering all the flames, scattering them and annihilating them in the air. The flame crystal dragon, which had previously made Jason feel a hint of danger and made Jason feel difficult in the battle, was now knocked away by Jason in 2 or 3 blows, without any resistance at all. This is the fire dragon medicine spirit array? Feeling the dissipating flame element in the air, Jason murmured, but a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth involuntarily, while staring into the depths of the void space. He finally understood how he suddenly came to this void space and was attacked by a fire dragon. The fire dragon medicine spiritual array is an extremely unique formation that is specially used to test the elixir medicine level of the elixir master. It must be performed by an elixir master of the 8th level low-level elixir emperor level or above, using himself as the base of the formation to activate the large formation. Its purpose is to test the elixir medicine level of the elixir master who enters the formation. Once the fire dragon medicine spiritual formation is activated, fire dragon crystal dragons will appear in the formation. These flame crystal dragons are extremely powerful. Depending on the strength of the spiritual medicine master who activates the formation, the displayed strength will be different. Generally, they are extremely difficult to destroy. However, using the method of elixir preparation, it can be easily killed. Just like the previous flame crystal dragon, its elemental concentration is equivalent to a bottle of 8th grade low-grade imperial elixir. Jason may not be able to kill it with force, but using the preparation method in elixir science, but it can be easily destroyed. However, this formation also has a weakness, that is, the highest elixir master level represented by the flame crystal dragon can only reach the level of the formation activator. It is like an 8th level intermediate elixir emperor using himself as the formation. Come to activate this formation, and the flame crystal dragon released can only test an 8th level intermediate elixir emperor master at most. If he comes to besiege an 8th level high level elixir emperor master, he will easily be killed. Break open. Now this formation was obviously initiated by the master of the elixir master tower, and the purpose was to test his attainments in elixir medicine. Just as Jason was thinking about it, boom! A huge roar sounded in Jason's ears. This time, 2 fire dragons tens of feet long suddenly appeared in the void, exuding astonishing power. Pressing, looking at Jason violently, aiming at Jason's location, he attacked again. From the elemental arrangement and spiritual aura of this flame crystal dragon, Jason could feel that these 2 fire dragons were much more difficult than the previous flame crystal dragon, and they represented the 8th level intermediate elixir emperor. The strength of the teacher. Huh. Jason hummed, a divine light bloomed in his eyes, terrifying spiritual power was released from his body, and Jason's 8th level low-level spiritual consciousness instantly dissipated. The 8th level intermediate elixir emperor master, Jason, who is the 8th level low-level imperial elixir master, cannot resist the spiritual consciousness flow alone. At this moment, Jason used the spiritual consciousness flow elixir medicine and the data flow elixir at the same time to attack, targeting the 2 ferocious flame crystal dragons. He struck hard. The terrifying spiritual power boiled, and Jason's mind became quiet. The whole person entered a state of emptiness. In Jason's eyes, the 2 powerful flame crystal dragons were already regarded as elixirs filling the sky. With the full force of Jason's spiritual consciousness flow and data flow, the 2 flame crystal dragons were resolved by Jason one by one in just a moment, and disappeared into the air again. After hitting the target, Jason retracted his hands and stood proudly in the void. Come on. In the void, Jason looked indifferently into the depths of the void space, his body boiling with fighting spirit. In terms of strength, Jason, who is an 8th-level low-level Imperial spiritual master, knows that he will never be a match for the master of the elixir master tower. However, in terms of his attainments in elixir medicine, he has already returned to the level of a 9th-level low-level elixir master. He is not afraid of anyone in this world. At this moment, the fighting spirit in Jason's heart was released to the extreme, and an unspeakable momentum suddenly rose from his body. At this moment, Jason seemed to have returned to his previous life. He was standing at the pinnacle of the mainland's elixir science. Arrogantly, the heroes of the world dominate the world. Although this fire dragon medicine spiritual formation was created by the master of the spiritual medicine master tower to test Jason's knowledge of spiritual medicine, Jason used this formation to observe the number 1 spiritual medicine master of this era, the master of the spiritual medicine master tower. Opportunities for attainments in spiritual medicine? This is the collision between Jason, the number 1 elixir from 3,000 years later, and the number 1 elixir of this era. It's a fateful confrontation. Brothers and sisters, points will be distributed in the book review area at the end of the month. If you want points, please go to the top post in the book review area and reply to the post New Year distribution. All replies will be rewarded with points. Everyone, go and grab them. The number of places is limited. Until supplies last. In the void, Jason stood proudly, waiting for the next test. The 2 fire dragons before were only equal to the 8th-level intermediate elixir master. He did not believe that this person, the elixir master, was known as the first elixir master in the mainland. The tower master can only display the 8th-level intermediate strength. At this moment, endless fighting spirit rose from Jason. Jason, who was an 8th-level low-level emperor spiritual master, seemed to have become the most powerful being in the world in an instant, fearless. In the depths of the empty space, seeing Jason defeat the flame crystal dragon that was equivalent to the 8th-level intermediate elixir master so quickly, and his body showed such an astonishing momentum, a person full of energy, a majestic voice of surprise rang out, echoing in the empty void, with a hint of shock in the voice. The white mist dispersed, and in the depths of the endless void, a figure slowly emerged. An unconcealable and amazing momentum emerged from his body, full of boundless domineering power. Although Jason couldn't see his face clearly, he already understood in his heart that the old man who appeared in the depths of the void was the master of the spiritual medicine master tower who was in charge of the fire dragon medicine spiritual formation. It's interesting. This figure looked at Jason from afar across the endless void, with a bright light in his eyes, and across the distance of space, it fell on Jason. To be able to defeat 2 flaming crystal dragons that are equivalent to the 8th-level intermediate elixir emperor master level so quickly is worthy of being a person who has reached the 29th floor of the medicine god tower. Since you are so full of fighting spirit, let me see, you are truly accomplished in elixir science. The majestic voice rumbled in the endless void. On the opposite side of the void, the old man's figure slowly dissipated and then disappeared. Boom! As the old man disappeared, a huge roar suddenly sounded in the empty void. Then, 3 flaming crystal dragons reappeared from the void. The tyrannical power dissipated from them, which represented the strength of an 8th-level advanced elixir emperor. Roar! The 3 fire dragons appeared, roaring from their mouths. The powerful flame power continued to spit out from their bodies, permeating everything, aiming at Jason's location, and attacked fiercely. Facing the attack of the fire dragon, Jason's eyes were indifferent. He used the spiritual consciousness flow medicine and the data flow spiritual medicine together. In an instant, the entire void was filled with astonishing spiritual consciousness. These spiritual consciousness were vertical and horizontal, combined with Jason's powerful 5 elements. The spiritual power formed a giant net and instantly enveloped the 3 flaming crystal dragons. No way. Jason's spiritual consciousness is like sharp transparent threads, constantly cutting on the three-headed flame crystal dragon. The elemental structure and composition of the flame crystal dragon's body are revealed through the spiritual consciousness. The detection gradually took shape in Jason's mind. A large amount of data washed through Jason's mind at an extremely fast speed. Mysterious and obscure formulas kept passing by. Jason was completely immersed in the analysis. With a lot of analysis, the different compositions of the three-headed flame crystal dragon were completely revealed by Jason. A feeling of complete control over the opponent rose from the bottom of Jason's heart. Phantom split hand, break it for me. A dazzling light suddenly shot out from Jason's eyes. He roared, his hands turned into afterimages, and instantly passed by one of the flaming crystal dragons. Click on every node on the body of the flame crystal dragon. Under Jason's attack, the flame crystal dragon was like glass, with dense cracks appearing on its body, and then with a bang, it turned into flames that filled the sky and dissipated. Jason hit the target with one hit, and without stopping, his hands turned into afterimages again, passing over the remaining two flame crystal dragons. Bang! Bang! The two flaming crystal dragons wailed, and a large number of cracks appeared on their bodies, and then turned into a sky full of spirit 20 elements and dissipated in the air. Endless flame elements dissipated in the void, and the flame crystal dragon, which represented the 8th level advanced elixir master realm, was completely defeated by Jason. In the void, Jason stopped and stood proudly. His sharp eyes were projected towards the end of the void. Okay. A majestic rumbling sound sounded in the void, and there was a hint of shock in the words. You are obviously only an 8th level low-level Emperor spiritual master, but you are actually able to crack open a symbol that represents the 8th level advanced elixir Emperor realm. The flame crystal dragon is extraordinary, extraordinary. What you used should not just be the traditional elixir science. I am very curious, very curious. In my elixir master tower, except for me, there are no other elixirs. Those with the highest attainments in medicine are the 2 deputy tower masters, Gates and Comaro, and the 3 elders, Erudigo. They are all 8th level elixir masters, and they are definitely the best on the entire continent. The elixir master is standing at the top of the pyramid. Now, there is an 8th level elixir master in my elixir master tower. I am very happy. Compared with the 3 of them, your talent is much stronger than them. Although you are all 8th level advanced elixir emperor masters, the 3 of them have been trapped in the 8th level elixir emperor realm for decades. In the medicine god tower, you have never broken through the 27th floor, which represents the 8th level high-level elixir emperor master, and entered the 28th floor, which represents the 9th level low-level elixir master. However, you have broken through to the 29th floor of the medicine god tower. It means that with your talent, you are very likely to be promoted to the 9th level low-level elixir saint master in the future. The majestic voice was full of emotion. The 9th level elixir saint master can only be promoted to this level. Being able to sit in our elixir tower, become a real elixir master, and control the elixir tower. Seeing as your strength is so amazing, then, I will let you feel what it means to be a real elixir master. The rumbling voice, the Wings update group has the fastest update, resounded in the void, then gradually disappeared. This what exactly does the tower master mean? In the void, Jason frowned tightly. The tower master said that only a spiritual medicine master who has entered the 9th level can truly become a spiritual master. Master medicine, now you want me to feel what a real elixir master is. This suddenly, as if he thought of something, Jason's eyes suddenly widened, his mouth opened, and his eyes revealed there was a hint of mystery. Could it be that Jason murmured, but before he could say the words, boom. An earth-shattering roar resounded throughout the void. A large number of flames suddenly appeared in the endless void. These flames floated in the void in clusters. Each cluster evolved into a small flame crystal dragon, interacting with each other. Fusion, division, overwhelming. Buzz. At the same time, an astonishing soul pressure descended from the sky and enveloped the entire void. The flaming crystal dragons all over the sky went berserk in an instant, evolving into various combinations. There was no trace of that perfect structure or perfect composition. The flaws were so beautiful that the entire void turned into a sea of flames. Feeling this profound sea of flames in the void, Jason's body suddenly trembled uncontrollably, his eyes filled with he was excited. This is the sea of fire dragons that represents the realm of the 9th level elixir Saint Master. Jason murmured, with a dull expression, the divine power is as powerful as prison, and the holy law is like the sea. Is this master of the elixir master tower a 9th level elixir master? With Jason's attainments in elixir science, he can naturally feel that the sea of fire dragons appearing around him at this moment is an attack that only those who have reached the realm of the 9th level elixir Saint Master can perform in the fire dragon elixir spiritual formation. Although it is equivalent to the realm of a 9th level low level elixir Saint Master, but after all, he is indeed a 9th level elixir Saint Master. The master of the elixir master tower turned out to be a 9th level elixir master, which gave Jason an extremely huge impact. Haha. Suddenly, Jason looked up to the sky and laughed. The laughter rumbled and echoed continuously in the void. At the next moment, his eyes stared into the depths of the void like knives. Although before coming to see the tower master, Jason had guessed that this represented the elixir level of the first elixir master in the mainland. What level was it? Jason had never thought about whether he might be a 9th level elixir master, but in the end, he ruled it out. Now, Jason finally learned about the elixir master's attainments in the elixir master tower. He turned out to be a 9th level elixir master. The wing spreading update team updated the fastest. However, Jason, who knew all this, was worried about what was going on in his heart at this moment. What aroused was not fear or admiration, but boundless excitement. 9th level elixir Saint Master? Come on, let me see how far your attainments in elixir science have reached. Jason shouted loudly, and there was a look in his eyes. The light flashed, and the soul power of the 9th level peak was released all at once. Boom! The wind and clouds changed color, the sky and the earth lost their luster, and boundless spiritual power rose into the sky, rendering Jason extremely majestic. Okay. Seeing Jason's fearless momentum, the Tower Master's figure appeared in the depths of the void again. He never thought that Jason, the core disciple, would see the power he released. After attaining the knowledge of terrifying elixirs, he didn't even have the slightest fear, but instead felt so excited. A love for talent floated in his heart, and his majestic voice echoed in the void. 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower. As you wish, you have the strength to see my knowledge of elixirs. After the words fell, the figure deep in the void suddenly waved his hand. Boom! Terrible spiritual power filled everything. All the flame crystal dragons floating in the void were aimed at Jason's location and rushed in crazily. The astonishing momentum was overwhelming, representing the soul power of the 9th level low-level elixir master, constantly impacting Jason. If it were an ordinary 8th level high-level elixir emperor, he would not be able to hold up under this soul charge alone, and would be defeated in a moment. But Jason, in this soul torrent, is like a rock, standing firm. Do not move. Facing the flaming crystal dragon that was equivalent to the level of a 9th level low-level elixir Saint Master, Jason's eyes flashed with divine light, and the technical spirit medicine skills activated by the 9th level low-level physical strength were instantly released. Rumble. In the endless void, two terrifying spiritual powers continued to impact. The large number of flame crystal dragons continued to grow in size, roaring, rushing towards Jason, annihilating everything, but using all their strength to activate the technology of spiritual medicine. But Jason was not afraid at all. Huge roars erupted in the void. At this moment, Jason transformed into thousands of people. There seemed to be tens of thousands of Jasons appearing in the entire void. Each Jason was facing the enemy. The last flame crystal dragon. Seeing Jason's skill, a huge sound of surprise echoed in the void, and there was also a deep shock in the sound of surprise. Although he didn't understand what Jason was displaying, the fact that Jason could still persist after he unleashed the strength of a 9th level low-level elixir master showed that Jason was also a 9th level elixir master. Holy Master! This Jason is actually a 9th level low-level elixir saint master? If Jason is surprised that the master of the elixir master tower is a 9th level low-level elixir saint master, then Jason's attainments in elixir medicine will give him, but it was boundless shock. At this moment, the master of the elixir master tower who was testing Jason's elixir medicine knowledge looked at Jason from a distance. It was no longer the look of a senior looking at a junior, or the tower master looking at a disciple. Instead, it was the look of two powerful men who were evenly matched with each other. That solemn gaze. Fire dragon medicinal spirit, spiritual mountain and sea of fire. A majestic rumble sounded in the void, and the figure at the end of the void exerted force again. The infinite flame crystal dragons all went berserk, and all kinds of elixirs dispersed. The composition and structure of the flame crystal dragon's body elements were arranged again, and its power continued to increase, aiming at Jason and crushing him. 9 heavens and 10 earths, I am the only one who is immortal. Jason shouted loudly, his fighting spirit boiling in his body, and he used his skills to the extreme. Boom! 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 Continuous explosions resounded in the void, and the entire void continued to vibrate. Two elixirs of the same intensity had an amazing collision and discussion. However, as time went by, no one could do anything to anyone. Those flame crystal dragons could not crush Jason, and Jason could not defeat the flame crystal dragon. Jason's 9th level low-level technology of spiritual medicine and the Tower Master's 9th level low-level spiritual medicine, the Shirlu Spiritual Medicine School, was actually a close match and evenly matched. Okay. In the void, the Tower Master shouted 3 times again, take my strongest move, the Fire Dragon Claws. Following his words, endless flame crystal dragons gathered like lightning. Together, they condensed into a boat over 100 feet long. The flame crystal dragon looked like a divine dragon, protruding from the sky and aiming at Jason. Well done! Jason roared with excitement, and the blood all over his body, everything is boiling. In his previous life, Jason was known as the #1 elixir master in the mainland. As a 9th level elixir master, he stood alone at the pinnacle of the continent. No one could compete with him and he could only move forward alone. But now, he unexpectedly encountered a 9th level elixir saint master in this elixir master tower who competed with Jason through the Fire Dragon elixir spiritual formation. How could Jason not be excited? Faced with the bombardment of this flaming crystal dragon, which embodies all the master's spiritual knowledge, Jason's body spurted out endless divine light. His figure suddenly became majestic and tall in the void, and his skills were like spiritual medicine, spiritual consciousness flow spiritual pharmacy, and data flow spiritual pharmacy. The three are completely integrated, with the strongest technical stream as the main one, supplemented by the spiritual consciousness flow and data flow, to deliver an invincible punch. Boom! An uncontrollable, earth-shaking explosion suddenly exploded in the void. After the loud noise, there was a collision of energy that was spitting out like a volcanic eruption. The two extremely fierce energies, as soon as they touched in mid-air, madly released each other's terrifying energy. Destructive energy spread out from the void, and ripples appeared in the empty space at this moment. Even the illusory air was blurred and distorted by the powerful energy collision. The splendid spiritual light exploded in the endless void, sweeping across the entire void like a wave of fire. Boom! Under the sweep of this terrifying force, the void continued to shatter. Boom! Time and space reversed, and the stars moved. Jason was still in the misty void before, but a moment later, the entire misty void suddenly disappeared. All the time disappeared, and what caught Jason's eyes was an ordinary courtyard, with some flowers and plants dotted on the lawn, small bridges, flowing water, pavilions, like an extraordinary world. But Jason's eyes were pay attention to some gray-white powder on the lawn, as well as the completely abolished spiritual patterns. 29th floor, you are worthy of being a person who has made it to the 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower. I thought you were just extremely talented. Jia, you are expected to reach the realm of the 9th level elixir master in this life, but I didn't expect that. I still underestimated you, and you can actually be evenly matched with me in the elixir science. The Fire Dragon Medicine spiritual array was completely destroyed. Although I don't understand what you used previously and how you, an 8th level low-level Emperor spiritual master, did it, but judging from the spirit you displayed in the Fire Dragon Medicine spiritual array, judging from your pharmaceutical attainments, you are indeed a 9th level low-level elixir master. Just when Jason was confused, a deep voice suddenly sounded between heaven and earth. Huh? Jason was shocked to find an old man with gray hair sitting cross-legged on a rock not far away. He was wearing an ordinary white elixir robe with a pale and rosy face. When Jason's eyes fell on this person, he felt the spiritual power in his body trembling. At first, he just saw a figure, and then he seemed to see endless spiritual power. The magnificent spiritual power continued to flow. It exuded an astonishing aura, causing Jason's spiritual energy to tremble uncontrollably. There was no thought of resistance. At the same time, Jason felt a very strange feeling. This feeling was as if the whole person was pulled out of the original world and suddenly plunged into another small world. The trees, green leaves, and flowers around Jason seemed to be suddenly given life, and they were thriving, giving people a feeling of infinite vitality. Even Jason felt that his body was full of vitality, and his vitality was extremely strong, reaching a peak state. Is this the Tower Master of the Elixir Master Tower? A thought suddenly flashed in Jason's mind, and he immediately stepped forward to salute and said, "Core Disciple Jason, pay your respects to the Master of the Tower." Although Jason was studying in elixir medicine, in terms of attainments, he was not inferior to anyone, but when he looked at the Master of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower, Jason still had a hint of admiration in his heart. Not for his low-level 9th level elixir knowledge, nor for his strength that stands proudly at the pinnacle of the continent, but for his caring for the elixir masters in the world. With one person's power, he sits in the mainland elixir master tower and serves the entire continent. The elixir of medicine, the mind that seeks blessings. Although Jason stood at the top of the continent in his previous life, he only concentrated on research and did not care about worldly affairs. Of course, this was also related to his extremely young age. He was only 27 years old in his previous life and only 25 years old in this life. Jason. Compared to the admiration in Jason's heart, the old man in white robe looked at Jason with more shock. He was shocked by Jason's previous knowledge of elixirs. I heard about your deeds after you joined our Medicine God Tower from Gates and Komaro, especially when you broke into the Medicine God Tower and broke through to the 29th floor. Originally, I called you here because I wanted to meet you. As soon as I saw you, I gave you some pointers. Now it seems that you are no weaker than me in terms of attainments in elixirs. You have also reached the level of a 9th level low-level elixir Saint Master. It's hard to imagine, it's really difficult. It's hard to imagine that you, an 8th level low-level Emperor Spiritual Master, actually have such profound knowledge of elixirs. The elixir skills you showed in the Fire Dragon Medicine Spiritual Array seem to be related to your body. I, Bism, will study it carefully. I have been studying elixirs all my life, and I have never even heard of such a thing, let alone seen it. Bism was very emotional, but his eyes suddenly showed a hint of excitement. Jason, do you know how long it has been since I became the master of this elixir tower? How long? Jason couldn't help but ask. 360 years. Bism's tone was suddenly filled with a sense of vicissitudes of life, as if it was a sigh of the passing years, a kind of helplessness. In the past 360 years, I have hoped every day that there would be a genius in the Medicine Master Tower who could come to me, receive my guidance, and discuss with me. However, things went against my expectations. It was not until today that I finally waited. This opportunity, and you also gave me a huge surprise. Jason's heart trembled. 360 years? There are nearly 10 batches of disciples in the spiritual medicine master's tower. Could it be that in the past 360 years, no one has been able to enter the eyes of the master of Bismuth Tower? Don't be surprised. For 360 years, the disciples in the spiritual medicine master's tower have come and gone. There have been many passers-by during this period, but in the end, none of them caught my eye. Originally, the potential of Lanuigusan. Yes, you are the most satisfying disciple in my life, but I am not completely satisfied yet. Now, your appearance fills my heart with joy. Jason suddenly raised his head, and Master Bismuth's eyes flashed, clearly carrying strong expectations and excitement, and what was revealed in those eyes was a deep love for talent. Jason's heart moved. What did the Tower Master mean? Bism nodded slowly. I am cultivating the core disciples of the spiritual medicine master tower. On the one hand, it is to improve the overall strength. On the other hand, it is also to find a successor. In the days to come, one can take charge of the spiritual medicine master tower and protect all the people in the world. Heir to the elixir, don't be reduced to a tool. Bism's words were loud and struck Jason's heart hard. There are only 2 days left at the end of the month. Brothers and sisters who still have monthly tickets, please give me some fire support. The books below are all working hard. Don't let the little teacher be exploded. Please cast a crucial vote. Jason could feel the power in Bisfamta Zhang's stirring voice when he said these words. It was a kind of power with the world in mind. At this moment, the figure of the master of Bisfam Tower suddenly grew taller in Jason's eyes. To protect the world's elixir masters from becoming the heirs of tools, this is another kind of responsibility that he waits for, which makes Jason's mind waver. For a moment, Jason only felt that his mouth was dry. The olive branch from the master of Bisfam Tower had actually been extended, but Jason felt heavy in his heart. And he didn't understand that there had been so many powerful core disciples in the alchemist tower for so many years. Why did the master of Bisfam Tower choose him to be his successor now? Doubts filled his chest, making Jason afraid to speak easily. The original purpose of Jason joining the alchemist tower was just to improve his own strength and meet the powerful alchemists in this world. Although he also knew that the core disciples were qualified to inherit the alchemist tower, Jason never thought about it. But there really will be such a day. You know, this is one of the most powerful twin towers among the 9 dogs forces in the mainland. Although he has reached the level of a 9th-level low-level elixir master in spiritual medicine, in terms of strength, he is an 8th-level low-level imperial spiritual master. He cannot be said to be the best in the world. The greater the ability, the higher the level, the greater the responsibility. Once you agree to the other party, you must take on this responsibility. Seeing Jason's doubtful and solemn gaze, the master of Bisfam Tower on the opposite side laughed. You are indeed worthy of being promoted to the 9th level of elixir master at such a young age. Why should I choose you? It is precisely because of your personality that ordinary core disciples would be ecstatic when they heard the news, but you are different. From the look in your eyes, I feel the responsibility. Speaking of this, the master of Bisfam Tower couldn't help but sigh. In this world, there are too many so-called geniuses, but in terms of elixir science, there are too few who can advance to the 9th level of elixir master. In the hundreds of years since I was born, apart from me, I have never seen anyone else, not even one with such potential. You are the only one. Is more important. What's more important is your character. There are many geniuses in the world, but there are too few who can wholeheartedly think about the spiritual medicine master in the world. Based on your performance in the Rainbow Tower, I believe that delivering the spiritual medicine master tower to your hands will be a great success for you. For all the elixir masters in the world, this is an extremely correct decision. Of course, you are still too weak now. Although you have the 5 elements of spiritual power, when you are now an 8th level low-level emperor spiritual master, you are able to defeat a genius 8th level peak emperor spiritual master like Edmez, but compared with the overlords on the mainland, your strength is still too weak. One day, when you advance to the 9th level of Holy Spirit Master, I will personally hand over the position of Master of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower to you. Bispham looked at Jason, his eyes full of expectation, and said, I hope you can agree to this request of mine. There was silence in the fresh courtyard. Jason and the Master of Bispham Tower were facing each other, feeling each other's expectant eyes. After thinking about it for a moment, Jason finally nodded. I promise you. Words full of firmness were slowly spat out from Jason's mouth. Although these words were only 4 short words, they weighed as much as 1,000 pounds. Opposite me, the Master of Bispham Tower smiled brightly. Okay. The Master of Bispham Tower said 2 good words in a row. This time you broke into the 29th floor of the Medicine God Tower. As the Master of the Medicine God Tower, I naturally need to reward you. With your knowledge of elixirs, you will definitely not be short of elixirs. In this way, you can use these 5 shares to exchange for anything in our Elixir Master Tower. 1 share can be exchanged for an 8th level elixir. The formula of an Emperor level elixir, or an 8th level elixir material, no matter what the material is, as long as our Elixir Tower has it, we will approve it for you. 5 shares? 1 share can be exchanged for an 8th level elixir. Peak elixir material? Jason's eyes suddenly lit up. The formula of the elixir is nothing to him, but the 8th level elixir material is what Jason needs extremely. You know, he has perfectly completed the Rainbow Tower mission and traded it to the Elixir Tower. 3 super effective healing potions that can trigger a revolution in therapeutic potions, but the final reward is only 6 8th level elixir materials, which still need to be reviewed. Now, the Master of Bispham Tower has given himself 5 more places for 8th level peak materials, which makes Jason not excited. With these 5 quotas, combined with the 3 9th level holy elixirs he obtained from Jintong Palace, he can completely match the formula of a 9th level holy elixir. By the way, there are less than 2 months left before the genius trials of the major forces in our continent. In about a month, the top 20 core disciples on your elixir list will be the gathering body. Set off to the secret trial realm. The trial place is located in a forbidden area on the mainland. This trial is an opportunity for you, but it is also full of dangers. In the past, every trial we spiritual pharmacists, a quarter of the disciples in the Tower City will die, so the trials of the major forces in this continent are also called the blood trials. With your strength, you can definitely be considered the best among all geniuses, but you can't be careless, you should be careful yourself. The Master of Bispham Tower reminded solemnly. During this month, if you have any questions about your cultivation that you don't understand, you can come to me for advice. I think you have reached the peak of the 8th level low-level Emperor Spiritual Master, and you are still just shy of being promoted to the 8th level intermediate level. Emperor Spiritual Master, you should try your best to advance before the trial. In this way, you will be more confident during the trial. Although I am not a spiritual master with the 5 elements attributes, I can practice the same path and achieve the same goal through different paths. Maybe I can give you something. Guidance. Originally, I was extremely curious about your special preparation method and hoped to have a good discussion with you on elixir science. However, at this critical moment, the trial is still the most important thing. Everything will wait. Let's talk after the trial is over. Jason nodded, but his expression was a little confused. Master Tower Master, isn't this trial a competition between geniuses among the major forces? Why are the major forces acting like this? Do you value it? In Jason's eyes, this trial of geniuses among the major forces in the continent is just equivalent to a comparison of geniuses among the major forces. However, Jason can feel that even the Master of Bispham Tower does not care about this test. Refining is very important, which makes Jason quite puzzled. Jason, after hearing Jason's words, the Master of Bispham Tower suddenly laughed. In your opinion, this bloody trial is just a competition between the geniuses of the major forces. In fact, it is not the case. Since you, as a disciple of my elixir master tower, you should have heard the words twin towers, 3 cities, and 4 empires, which represent the 9 major forces in the mainland, right? Jason nodded. As early as in the Kingdom of Orlando, Jason was from Wayne. I have heard about these 9 major forces that represent the pinnacle forces of the mainland. On the mainland, in addition to these 9 major forces, there are many other forces that also have amazing strength, such as the Adventurers Guild, etc. They will also participate in this genius trial. In this genius trial, every 100 once a year, the rankings determined by the major forces are related to the quotas each major force has in the big operation, the day of the god's birth. The day of the god's birth? Jason's eyes were full of doubts. This is the birthday of God. With your current strength, it is better not to know for the time being. When you advance to the 9th level of Holy Spirit Master, I will naturally tell you, but what I can tell you is that this God birthday is also blown every 100 years, and is the most important secret of our stern continent. No, the wing spreading update team updates the fastest. You are still too weak now, and you can only wait until you advance to the 9th level of low-level Holy Spirit Master, are qualified to know this secret. The most important secret of our stern continent? Jason couldn't help being surprised. From the words of the Master of Bispham Tower, Jason could tell that there seemed to be a huge secret hidden on the stern continent, but why had he never heard of this divine birth in his previous life? Day? In the eyes of the Master of Bispham Tower, I am not qualified to know this secret yet. In the eyes of the Master of Bispham Tower, my own strength is indeed very weak. Jason is also very self-aware. Now, although I can defeat the 8th level Imperial Spiritual Master, there is still a certain gap compared with a 9th level low-level Spiritual Master. As the Master of one of the Twin Towers, Bispham is definitely a more powerful existence than the Lord of Sin in Sin City. Perhaps he is evenly matched with him in elixir science, but in terms of strength, he is far behind. Okay, now, let me take you out. The Master of Bispham Tower took Jason out of the courtyard. Jason followed closely. The courtyard door opened, Jason and Bispham walked out together, and they immediately arrived in the main hall of the Elixir Palace. Gates and Komaro, the 2 deputy tower masters, and Lan Yu Gusen were still waiting quietly outside the hall. Master Tower Master. After seeing the Master of Bispham Tower, Gates and Komaro immediately saluted respectfully, while Lan Yu Gusen winked at Jason with a mischievous smile. Jason, Gates is the leader of this blood trial. He is also a 9th level intermediate wood-type Holy Spirit Master. If you encounter any difficulties or doubts in practice during the journey, just ask Gates. The Master of Bispham Tower spoke out. Jason was delighted. As a 9th level intermediate elixir master and the deputy tower master of the Elixir Master Tower, Gates must have a lot of experience and insights in cultivation, which can give him a lot of inspiration. Yes. Jason said respectfully, then turned to look at Deputy Tower Master Gates, and said respectfully, "From now on, I'll just trouble Mr. Gates." "No trouble." Gates waved his hand and said with a smile. "Just kidding, how dare he disobey the order given by the Master of Bispham Tower?" "Okay, I have said everything I want to say. Jason, go ahead. I hope that in this bloody trial, you can win the greatest glory for our spiritual medicine Master Tower." Bispham instructions. Jason understands. Jason nodded. "Old man, there's still me." On the side, Lan Yu Gusen suddenly shouted. Yes, and you, haha." The Master of Bispham Tower glanced at Lan Yu Gusen and burst into laughter. After leaving the spiritual medicine hall, Jason and Lan Yu Gusen immediately flew towards the location of the God Transformation Island. In the following days, Jason once again fell into practice. He worked hard to advance to the 8th level intermediate Imperial Spiritual Master before setting off. During this period, he also visited the Master of Bispham Tower twice to ask for help. It asks for advice. Time passed, and a month passed in a blink of an eye. Jason, who was practicing, was awakened by Lan Yu Gusen and Cassinus. The guardian of the elixir master tower finally sent a message, urging them to go to the core hall. Gather together and get ready to go. Although Claire and the others were well prepared for the Continental Genius trial that Jason and the three participated in, their hearts were still full of reluctance. By the time Jason and the others arrived at the core hall, the entire square in front of the core hall was already crowded with people. The top 20 elixirs were ranked in the list. Almost all the core disciples who participated in the blood trial had gathered, and a large number of people were gathered to see them off. Core disciple. Seeing the arrival of the three Jasons, the crowd suddenly burst into loud cheers. In the Sky City, everyone is a competitor, but when they represent the Alchemist Tower to participate in the Genius trial, everyone is a fellow disciple and shares the same enemy. Ever since Jason defeated Edmes, and the deeds of breaking into the Medicine God Tower spread in the Sky City, Jason has already become the most influential figure in the entire Core Palace. His popularity even has the potential to overtake Lan Yugusin. His arrival immediately attracted the attention of many core disciples of Erfeng, who ranked top on the elixir list. And Jason also saw acquaintances on the elixir list such as Ursays and Huolong. He had not seen them in the past 2 years. The strength of the people on the elixir list 2 years ago was even more unfathomable. A huge improvement. Under normal circumstances, there will definitely be many core disciples who claim to have greatly increased their strength and are unruly. However, after Edmet's deeds, no matter how much their strength improved, the eyes they looked at Jason were still filled with awe and no intention of competing. Boom! Just when all the disciples gathered together, discussed with each other, and waited, suddenly, several terrifying pressures descended from the sky, and 3 figures landed in the void instantly, standing in front of all the disciples. The leader was Deputy Tower Master Gates, and standing behind him were Elder Waterfield and the Master of the Law Enforcement Hall, Cornelius, 2 9th-level low-level Holy Spirit Masters. Everyone, this Genius trial will be led by Elder Waterfield, Hall Master Cornelius, and I. The disciples who are qualified for the trial and ranked among the top 20 in the last elixir list will follow us. After Gates appeared, he spoke directly and neatly, and then flew up first, followed closely by Elder Waterfield and Hall Master Cornelius. Suddenly, in the square in front of the core hall, terrifying power boiled, and then one by one whoosh. Whoosh! Whoosh! One after another figures rose into the sky, and the 20 core disciples participating this time, wrapped in an astonishing and terrifying aura, bursting through the sky somewhere in the forest outside the secret realm of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. In the originally peaceful space, ripples suddenly appeared, disturbing the peaceful forest. Hi! A dazzling cyan light suddenly bloomed in the void. This light appeared and dissipated quickly. It disappeared in an instant. However, in the originally empty mountain forest, 20 people appeared. Dwedao's body exuded a terrifying aura. It was Gates, Deputy Tower Master, and others who came out of the Spiritual Medicine Master Tower. Everyone, the address of the blood trial is located in the northeast of the mainland, nearly a month away from here. It's a journey, but don't worry, you don't need to fly during the journey, you can still practice. Deputy Tower Master Gates looked at the many disciples and spoke. In his right hand, a hand-sized palm suddenly appeared. The airship model, and then waved his hand in the doubtful eyes of everyone. The originally quiet space suddenly experienced a violent fluctuation of spiritual energy. The palm-sized airship model flew into the mid-air and grew rapidly. In an instant, it has turned into a large airship. This is an extremely rare flying spiritual weapon, an ancient spiritual airship. Jason couldn't help but be surprised. The ancient spiritual airship is a product of alchemy and machinery. It is one of the special spiritual weapons. The power system is driven by spiritual cores and spiritual crystals. Depending on the level of the airship, the flying speed is also different. It is extremely rare. The blueprints and production methods have long since disappeared. In the past life, there were no more than 5 fingers of ancient spiritual airships left on the mainland. Unexpectedly, the gate's deputy tower master had one in his hands. "Everyone, let's get on the airship," Gates said, taking the lead and flying into the airship. Jason and others also followed one by one and entered the airship. The space of the entire airship is extremely huge, with 30 rooms, just enough for each disciple, and at the very back, there are some seats and storage rooms. After everyone looked at the airship curiously, they all returned to their rooms under the arrangement of Elder Waterfield. The number of the room was naturally determined according to the ranking on the elixir list. The airship suddenly took off into the sky, and then turned into a stream of light, flying quickly towards the northeast of the mainland. In the airship, many core disciples were rare and untrained. They walked out of the room curiously and looked at the scenery outside through the transparent crystal on the airship. Even Jason was no exception. Feeling the speed of this spiritual airship that was comparable to the full flight of a 7th-level senior imperial spiritual master, and carefully identifying the materials used to make the spiritual airship, Jason couldn't help but feel filled with excitement. On the mainland today, the basic way for ordinary people to travel is to rely on horse-drawn carriages, because spiritual beasts are too difficult to tame. Even if there is a profession of animal tamer, there are only a very small number of spiritual beasts that can be tamed, and they can be used as there are even fewer mounts. This way of traveling is both slow and dangerous, but this airship flies in the very high clouds in the sky. There is no need to worry about attacks by spiritual beasts or bandits. Even if it passes through some mountains and forests with 7th-level spiritual beasts, generally 7 spiritual beasts of higher order will never fly to such a high place, so it can be said to be extremely safe. Unfortunately, the construction of ancient spiritual airships was too difficult. Contemporary alchemist masters, even 3,000 years later, have not been able to thoroughly study how the spiritual airships that existed in ancient times were built. After a brief look, Jason and the others gradually calmed down, returned to their rooms one by one, and started practicing. The sky in June is already close to summer, and the sun is shining brightly, bringing endless warmth to the earth. In the cloudless sky, occasionally a group of unknown birds flew across the sky, bringing a hint of life. The hot warm wind blew by, and the leaves made a whistling sound. This is a mountain forest located in the northeast of the mainland, belonging to the Kamikaze Empire in the northeast of the mainland. In the blue sky above the mountain forest, a huge airship passed overhead with a huge sound of breaking through the sky. This airship is the genius team of the Alchemist Tower, who set off from the Alchemist Tower and headed to the place of trial. At this moment, half a month had passed since Jason and the others set out to reach the center of the Kamikaze Empire. It would take about 10 days to reach the trial site. The Spiritual Medicine Master Tower is located in the center of the continent, and the trial site is in the northeasternmost part of the continent, which is equivalent to spanning half of the continent. Even though this ancient spiritual airship is equivalent to a 7th-level senior imperial spiritualist flying at full speed, the Wingspan Update group updates the fastest, and it also takes a lot of time. In the airship, some core disciples were eating in the restaurant at the back of the airship, while others were whispering to each other on their seats. During this half-month, most of the core disciples have been cultivating, but there are also some disciples who often go out and walk around. In their opinion, they have never relaxed their cultivation in the past 2 years. Now there are only more than 10 days left before the trial. No matter how much you practice, your strength will not change much. So they relaxed and enjoyed this rare journey. At this moment, the sudden shackles boom. A terrifying breath spread out from a room in front of the airship. An extremely huge spiritual power pressure descended from the sky and enveloped the entire airship. At the same time, the spiritual 20 elements in the world around the entire airship rioted. Indescribably huge spirit 20 elements swarmed in from every corner of the world. Spirit 20 elements of various attributes flowed, leaving clear tracks in the air, and then poured into the room in the spirit airship crazily. Middle. What's going on? What's going on? This movement immediately alarmed many players who were practicing in the airship. In an instant, a large number of geniuses came out of the carriage, with expressions on their faces. He looked at the room with surprise and doubt on his face. Countless huge spirit 20 elements condensed around the room like substance, constantly pouring into the room, and the terrifying pressure was released, giving people an unspeakable shock. In the room at the front of the airship, silhouettes were also shot out. Among them, Lanuagusan and Cassinus came to the door of the room at once, preventing others from approaching. Room number 10, ranked 10th on the elixir list? This is the room where senior brother Jason is. Many core disciples shouted after seeing the door number of the room. For a time, the entire airship was filled with rich spiritual 20 elements. The terrifying and astonishing 5-color spiritual power was like an ocean of water pouring down from the sky. It was powerful and frightening. Could this be senior brother Jason is in the gene office? Seeing this terrifying scene, some people in the crowd couldn't help but make a sound. It's too scary. I have never seen such an earth-shattering torrent of spiritual power when someone is promoted. No, senior brother Jason's promotion has made the airship lose control. At this moment, someone in the crowd exclaimed. Under the release of Jason's terrifying spiritual power, the entire airship was crumbling under the torrent of 5-color spiritual power. It was shaking constantly, and there was a faint feeling that it was about to explode. What's going on? Who is releasing spiritual power? At this moment, Deputy Tower Master Gates and Master Cornelius, who were in the separate lounge ahead, rushed out of their rooms with faces on their faces. Shang spoke with anger. However, after seeing the unique scene in Jason's room, the anger on Gates' Deputy Tower Master's face disappeared immediately, and he immediately pointed at the cockpit and said anxiously, "Waterfield, it's Jason who is advancing. Hurry up and shut down all the power devices on the spiritual airship." As he finished speaking, the flickering spiritual patterns on the walls around the spiritual airship instantly went out, stopping interfering with the external spiritual elements. The spiritual airship that was constantly shaking and might explode at any time gradually calmed down. The spiritual airship with its power unit stopped is equivalent to a house made of special materials. Naturally, it will not be affected by the violent spiritual 20 elements in the air. There is no reaction, and the spirit 20 element produced by Jason's advancement will not cause it to collapse. However, because the power unit was turned off, the spiritual airship that was flying through the sky at high speed gradually lost its power and then fell from an altitude of tens of thousands of meters. Boom! The violent torrent of 5-color spiritual power continued to wash into the room where Jason was. This process came and went quickly. Just as the spiritual airship dropped to a height of 2,000 meters, it was about to fall to the ground. At this time, the violent 5-color spiritual power between heaven and earth finally slowly stopped. Sensing the changes here, Elder Waterfield in the cockpit launched the spiritual airship again. The high-speed falling spiritual airship threw a huge parabola in the void, lifted into the air, and began to fly by. In the aisle of the spiritual airship, all the disciples' eyes were fixed on room 10, where Jason was guarded by Lanuagusan and Cassinus, for an instant. Squeak! In everyone's eyes, the door of the room suddenly opened, and a figure walked out of the room. It was Jason carrying a black heavy sword on his back. 5 colors were shining in his eyes, his long black hair was flowing on his shoulders, and his resolute face was full of cold charm, which made people unable to help but feel impressed. An indescribable faint coercion came from his body, giving people an inexplicable sense of oppression. Although this coercion was not strong, it was full of inexplicable power, as if there was something in the body of this black-haired young man, dormant like an ancient wild dragon, which made all the disciples feel a little panicked and couldn't help but swallow saliva. "Everyone, I'm sorry for disturbing your practice." Jason looked at everyone and said calmly. "Jason, congratulations on the promotion," Lanuagusan said with a smile at the door. "Jason, congratulations." You are such a pervert. You were so scary before. Now that you have been promoted, I don't dare to interact with you anymore, haha. Cassinus also laughed out loud. Senior brother Jason is mighty. Congratulations, senior brother. Congratulations, senior brother. In the crowd, some core disciples also congratulated. As the top 20 people in the elixir list, they are absolutely unconvinced by everyone in the elixir master tower, even for figures like Edmits and Cassinus, they only have a hint of awe in their hearts, but facing Jason today, all they have in their hearts is admiration and complete admiration. When a person's strength exceeds his own by too much, people often no longer feel jealous, but only worship him. Finally promoted to the 8th level intermediate imperial spiritual master. Listening to everyone's congratulations at the door of the room, Jason also had a smile on his face. He had always wanted to advance to the 8th level intermediate imperial spiritual master before the trial. Now, finally succeeded. Okay, everyone, please go back to your room. In the corridor, Deputy Tower Master Gates shouted loudly. Immediately, the core disciples who came out of the room because of Jason's promotion also entered the room again. Entered his room. At the door of room 20, Edmes looked at Jason, who had a terrifying aura on his body, sighed inwardly, and retreated to his room. Originally, he was no match for Jason, but now that Jason has been promoted again, he has no desire to compete with Jason at all. Perhaps I can only compete with him again after I advance to the 9th level of low-level Holy Spirit Master. Edmes felt helpless, but how can it be so easy for a 9th level Holy Spirit Master to be promoted? As everyone dispersed, Deputy Tower Master Gates and Master Cornelius also left, but when they turned to enter the separate lounge in front, Master Cornelius looked into Jason's eyes. In the middle, a strange light suddenly flashed. In the northeast of the continent, there is an endless wilderness, all the way to the edge of the continent. The endless wind roars here, but in this barren land, there are extremely small towns. However, due to the baptism of time, these small towns seemed a bit dilapidated. However, at this moment, these towns that had been abandoned for nearly 100 years were once again lively. Individual figures kept walking through their respective towns. These towns were of different sizes, like private territories, separated by great distances from each other. In the middle area, there were 9 larger buildings. The town is like a core, surrounded by many towns and cities like stars holding the moon. At this moment, there are pedestrians in 2s and 3s on the street. Each of these people has extraordinary momentum and exudes an amazing aura. They are extremely powerful beings anywhere on the mainland and enjoy supreme authority. But here, they are just extremely ordinary. A very low-key member. Whoosh! At this moment, a huge stream of light swept from the distance with a sharp sound of breaking through the sky. Hearing the huge sonic boom, many pedestrians on the street raised their heads, looking up to the sky. In the sky, a huge airship cut across the sky, and then stopped above one of the 9 towns in the center. This is an ancient spiritual airship. Looking at where they are staying, they are on the side of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower. Have the geniuses on the side of the Spirit Medicine Master Tower arrived? Seeing the huge airship, many characters showed shock in their eyes. They are all geniuses from major forces in the mainland who participated in this bloody trial. They naturally brought a lot of attention to the top twin towers in the mainland, with a hint of respect and a hint of dissatisfaction. In the huge airship, figures one after another filed out of the airship, overlooking the desolate land. Is this the place where this genius trial is held? It exists in the northeasternmost part of the continent. Sure enough, the spiritual energy in the air is somewhat different from that in the center of the continent. Feeling the spiritual 20 elements in the air, Jason and others looked at there are so many towns and cities that I can't help but sigh in my heart. Whoosh! Dian! At this moment, silhouettes of people suddenly flew out of the town on the ground. These people quickly came to Gates and saluted respectfully. 7-star city, spiritual medicine master, the person in charge of the tower trial. Rapace has met Deputy Tower Master Gates, Elder Waterfield, and Lord Cornelius. This bloody trial is located in the northeasternmost part of the continent. Before the trial, the major forces naturally staff were dispatched to arrange everything. No need to be polite, everyone, let's get down. Gates waved his hand, and the spiritual airship shrank sharply, then disappeared into his hands. Then, Gates took the lead and landed in the town below. Jason and others also followed one by one. When Gates and the others landed in the town representing the Elixir Tower, there were also a lot of eyes on the town where the other 8 major forces were located. Is Gates leading the team this time around the Alchemist Tower? And Elder Waterfield in the center of a certain town, a figure in a black cloak looked indifferently at the large number of alchemist towers descending. The core disciple had a cold smile on his lips. Everyone in the Spirit Medicine Master Tower, please enjoy this short life. The cloak said coldly, then turned into a mist and disappeared into the void. Under Rapace's arrangement, Jason and the others were each assigned a residence based on their ranking. At this moment, there are still 5 days before the genius trial begins. During these 5 days, except for the fact that everyone cannot leave the area where the town is located, their other actions are not restricted. On the first night of Jason's arrival, Deputy Tower Master Gates summoned all the core disciples participating in the Elixir Medicine Tower. Everyone, in 5 days, the genius trial will begin. I think you all have many doubts in your hearts. Here, Waterfield, please briefly explain the location and rules of the trial to everyone. Hall. Everyone, Deputy Tower Master Gates spoke up. Waterfield nodded, stood up, and came in front of all the disciples. I think there are no core disciples who don't know the origin of this genius trial. It is a contest between the major forces and disciples in our continent and a real test. And the location of the trial is the 7th continent in the world. The 7-star sea, one of the great forbidden lands. The 7-star sea? After hearing the trial location mentioned by Elder Waterfield, many of the core disciples present changed their expressions.